Welcome back to the channel and welcome to this episode of Mark's Garage. Today we're going to do an oil change, the very first one on the Triumph Scrambler 400X. So looking forward to that. We're going to bring you along and show you what's involved there. And we're going to do it on this particular work table. And I'll tell you just a little bit about it. It is made by a company in Marshalltown, Iowa. And this model is called the SL30, and it's pneumatic, it's an airlift, and I've really enjoyed having it. And so if you have any questions about this, please leave those in the comments and we can certainly help more with that. I'll also put their website in the description so you have a place to check out all their other products as well. So anyway, come along with me. We're going to do an oil change. All right, from the Triumph Owner's Manual, first thing we're going to do is remove these two fasteners. They're 4mm hex for this finishing cover. These weren't very tight, I noticed that. Didn't take much to get those off. Okay. And there's the finish cover right there. Well made. All right, next up, Triumph would like us to remove this left side engine cover. And there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one right there. Those are, it's a hex bolt, so, and that's 8mm. So we're gonna take all those 5 off. We'll double check this to make sure that they are all the same size. Yeah, okay, so that's That's a much longer one, so we're going to just put those in kind of the order. Alright, that's the same size. We're going to leave that one in just to hold things in place. Okay, so there we go. There is the engine cover. Well, it didn't say it in the Triumph owner's manual, but just based on how this oil is going to drain, I think it's a real good idea to make sure we remove the engine plate here. Let's get that out of the way. Otherwise that's just going to make a mess when the oil comes out of there. All right, so once we have the left side engine cover off, once we take the engine skid plate off, it gives us access to really all the things we need. There's 3 of them. And the first of which is right here. That's the oil drain plug. It's a black colored plug. Then right here is the oil strainer plug. Take that off and you can remove the strainer. And then behind this cover is an oil filter. So we got 1, 2, 3 things we're going to be working on. All right, so I did crack this. This is an 18 millimeter bolt, oil drain bolt. I'm just holding the pan up. I have no idea how this is going to come shooting out of here, so there we go, not too bad. And of course I did warm up the bike, took it for a lap around Crystal Lake. And there is an O-ring right there, you can see it, and we'll give that a close inspection. They recommend you change it, but this is, we'll take a look at it and see how it is. All right, well that's draining. We've got this one loosened up over here. This is the strainer. There we go, I got some oil coming out of there. Here's what the strainer looks like. And we'll set that right next to the plug, and that also has an O-ring. It's got an O-ring on the very end, and it's got an O-ring where it seats against the engine case. It's nice to have a small little plastic parts tray here. So here's, of course, what we've got. That's the oil drain plug right in the middle next to it, and this is the strainer that is behind the oil drain plug, and then here's what's called an evacuation strainer that was left of the drain plug. All right, I want to go through the key parts here for the oil change. We're looking at the left side of the motorcycle. Let me just give a quick summary of what's going on. So first off, you have the oil drain plug. And so we took that out a little bit ago, let the oil drain. It looks like that, it's painted black, okay? So we'll set that there in the oil pan. And then behind the oil drain plug is this strainer right here. So we have that. All right, and we're going to set that there. And we'll get that cleaned up. And then there is another strainer up here in the front. It's a smaller one, and that's what that looks like right there. Okay, and then lastly you have this cover. We're going to take that off in just a second, and that's where the oil filter is. So those are all the components. You have the oil drain plug, a strainer behind that, an evacuation strainer in front there. You have the oil filter here. All right, it is time to take off the oil filter cover. These are 8mm hex bolts. Okay. So on this strainer that sits behind the oil drain plug, I'm zooming in here on just a little bit of debris that I found on it. It doesn't look to be necessarily metal. It looks like it could be some sealants or that kind of a thing. So we're going to clean that up, clean it up with contact cleaner. For cleaning up some of these strainers, I like to use the WD-40 contact cleaner. It works out really nice. Doesn't take much, just does such a great job, and it's quick drying. I'm going to be using Castrol all full synthetic 1050 for the oil change. All right, it's time to put everything back in place. And one thing I'm going to mention to you is the Triumph Owner's Manual states that for all these little O-rings here, this happens to be the evacuation strainer, so there's a couple O-rings there plus the one on the bolt where it meets that. They want all of those replaced, and so there's a total of about like 7 different O-rings. I'm going to leave I'm going to look at these. I'm going to leave the original O-rings if they look okay. And then I will replace them all when I do the next oil change, because I think that's maybe just a little bit of overkill, but that's just my opinion and the way I'm going to do it. So here is the evacuation strainer. We're going to clean up that surface. We'll get that in there. And I'll give you all the torque specs for each of these, so you have those as well. Okay. There's the evacuation strainer. Okay. Just make sure we got a little bit of oil on this O-ring for the drain plug. Here is the new oil filter. It goes in that way with this rubber here seating on that nipple on the inside, so we'll make sure we lube up this correctly. There we go. And that fits in there like this. There, just like that. You can feel that when it fits over that nipple. Here's our cover. I should have paid a little more attention to the orientation of this cover, which way, if it went that way or if it went this way. I don't remember. And I didn't pay attention to that. Maybe it's universal. All right, we're tightening the oil filter cover. These 8mm hex bolts. The spec is 11 Newton meters. There we go. Done. All right, the engine oil drain plug. We're going to get that set at 13 Newton meters. There it is. Right there. We need to tighten the evacuation strainer. This one. This will be the last one that we need to tighten up. This is 10 Newton meters. Okay. That's it right there. All right, we've got our funnel. Here we've got our oil. This takes 2 liters. And we'll put 2 liters in and then we'll get it started. All right, we've got all the things tightened up. Oil cover, evacuation strainer, drain bolt, those are all set. Before we put on the cover here and install the engine skid plate, what we're going to do is we're going to lower this a little bit. We're going to start it up. We're going to just make sure there's no leaks, everything's working well. We'll check the oil sight glass and then go from there. Everything looks really good. There's no leaks. Everything is tight. And we'll give it a couple minutes here for the engine to settle, and then we'll check the oil sight glass for the proper level. It's time to reinstall the engine skid plate, which is right there, but I just wanted to show this with the HMC lift. There's these couple of trays, one on each side. It's great to store your parts in. You know, you just don't, they're not rolling around on you. So anyway, shout out to HMC lifts. Great job, guys. All right, so here's the engine cover. And we'll get that reinstalled. Just like this. We'll put this little one in here just to hold it in place. All these bolts, the 8mm hex bolts, 11 Newton meters is what the spec is for tightening. All right, here we go. $11 Newton meters. And one more. That's it. And this one. Beautiful. All right, here's our finish cover. Get those turned in as far as we can. There we go. And 7 Newton meters. Not much. We just set the torque wrench.